Hello, and welcome to another show. This is the Delaware Blogger Podcast, and I'm your host, Antionette Blake, better known as the Diva, aka the Delaware Blogger. And every week I come to you with podcasting pointers that will help you to share your mission and your vision simply by using your voice. Now, a new episode of the Delaware Blogger Podcast publishes every Saturday at 10 a.m. And if you wish to sponsor a show, please send an email to info@ablakeenterprises.com. Now, today we are diving into a topic that every podcaster has to tackle at some point: choosing the perfect name for your podcast. And that usually happens when you decide to start a show. Hello, and welcome. This is the Delaware Blogger Podcast, and I invite you to subscribe because every week I am giving podcasting pointers that will help you to broaden your brand and expand your exposure online. We're here every Saturday at 10, and I invite you to subscribe to my blog at delblogger.com because there are also the transcripts and links to other great topics on the blog. You can also find me on all my social media platforms by simply using the hashtag Delaware Blogger or my Linktree ID, A Blake Enterprises. So welcome to episode number 362 of the Delaware Blogger Podcast. Listen in and share with a friend. Now I know what you're thinking. It's just a name, right? Wrong. Choosing the right name for your podcast is like picking the perfect outfit for a special occasion. It sets the tone, it makes a statement, and most importantly, it's how your audience is going to find you in this big, broad world of podcasting. So, how do you start? Well, we're going to break it down today. First things first, brain dump. Yep, in my book, Podcasting Your Purpose Resource Guide, edition number 2, I talk about the brain dump or brainstorming. I like pen and paper. You may want to use your electronic device, but grab a notepad or your electronic device and start jotting down words and phrases, and even themes related to your podcast content. Think about what makes your podcast unique. You've chosen that topic. Is it tech, lifestyle? Might even be, paranormal experiences, the Twilight Zone, things that are happening in your state, like the Delaware Blogger. Let your creative juices flow. Right. That's why I love writing, because it seems like you can jot down and brainstorm and brain dump, whatever you want to call it, better with pad and paper. But I digress. You do you, boo. Now, once you have that list, it's time to narrow it down. Just like narrowing down your niche, it's time to narrow down those words. Think about your target audience. What words and phrases are going to resonate with them? Do you want a name that only reflects your content, but also speaks to your listeners? Who is it that you're trying to reach? What are the types of words that they're going to, zoom in on? Now, and speaking about your audience, don't forget, when you're choosing those words, they have to be SEO, search engine optimization friendly. You want them to be found when someone goes and says, I want to learn more about podcasting. Give me the name of a podcast that teaches podcasting, or I need a podcast about blogging. Search engine optimization is real. Audio is not as user friendly when it comes to being found, but those words will. So that's why your title is so very important, because when people search for podcasts, you want your show to pop up. So you want to choose a name that's not all, just catchy, but also SEO friendly. Use keywords that potential listeners might type into the search bar when they're searching for that podcast. So the first thing is brainstorming. brain dump. Put those words out there, list them out. Then when you get them all together, think about which ones resonate, which ones pop up for your audience, for your topic. And then once you've settled on that, do a search. Search to see if there's other podcasts that have either the similar name or the same name, because you definitely want to stand out and you don't want to get lost if there's a podcast with the same names or similar titles, and definitely not a duplicate, right? So now you've searched it, it's free. Okay, you got it. No other podcast names are out there. I've never found another Delaware Blogger podcast title out there. So you got that. And make sure, even when you find it, make sure that it's not trademarked, because the last thing you want to do is use a trademarked name and then have to give it up later. And you can do, there's lots of apps out there. I will leave that in the show notes where you can go and find them. Just because it's not out there and published does not mean that it's not owned by someone else. Okay. Now, the length of your name, the length of the title of your show. Keep it short and sweet. Keep it concise. Long podcast names can be a mouthful and they can be hard to remember. Aim for something that's short, sweet, snappy, memorable, and easy to spell. Not a bunch of underscores and exclamation marks and asterisks and all that, because people are usually going to find these information via their smartphone. So they don't want to have to be typing a whole bunch of different characters. So make it short and sweet. And guess what? Share them with your family and your friends. You got friends out there? Ask them, enlist their thoughts. Hey, what do you think about this name? What do you think about that name? Get some feedback, because what you think might be the perfect name, the perfect spelling, may not be the case. And I covered that one time in my blogging basics class. We were looking at titles, and sometimes you fall in love with a title, and then when it's written, you look at it, it's like it's spelled incorrectly, or it's spelled in a way that may be not such a good word or term. So ask for others' opinion, put it up on the board, look at it, write it out. Make sure that, it's right. You want it to be right, because people will find things that you don't see, because you're so in love with that title. Now, you've got that brain dump, you've got those words, you did a search, you've written it out, you got some second opinions. Now, how does it sound? Take it all in. Think about it. Say it. People are asking, hey, Antoinette, I heard you have a podcast. What's the name of your podcast? I can say Out and About with Antoinette, or the Delaware Blogger Podcast. Remember, the podcast name is your brand, and having a great name can make all the difference. Now, before we end today's episode, let me share a quote with you. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but a podcast with the perfect name will get you more listeners. That's right. It was something cute. But thank you. We're going to end this episode today, episode number 362, talking about, choosing the perfect name for your podcast. And if you choose the perfect name, it's like choosing your child. It is a big deal. So thank you guys for tuning into today's episode of the Delaware Blogger Podcast. And, if you found anything of interest that I said to you today, please subscribe, share this episode with others, leave a rating or review too. And while you're here, check out a few other episodes. So I invite you to subscribe to my blog, delblogger.com. You're going to find blogging tips, podcasting pointers, and every Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday tips for us boomers and beyond. You can also find the links to purchase a copy of the Podcasting Your Purpose resource guide. So until the next time, this is the DE Diva, aka the Delaware Blogger, wishing you and yours a beautifully blessed day. Bye-bye.